Okay. Alright, so guide starting now. Okay, so you wanted to learn how I play Lux, what my runes, masteries, item set, possibly even skill levels, how I go about doing all that. Alright, so as my runes, I have an AP support rune page that I like to use when I play support Lux. I get gold per 10 seconds in seals. Now this does make you very squishy in the laning phase because you're not having the extra armor from the seals, so you have to be really careful about heavy damage. But I've learned Lux enough that I can play her pretty safely and stay back far enough to not get hurt. So I take the greater seals of gold, giving me an extra 2.3 gold per 10 seconds. Huge difference, really. It really is. I get ability power quints because I think those are just kind of necessary since I'm an AP support. So I get ability power quints. I run armor reds because you do still need a little bit of armor. You could run magic pin, but I think that is far too risky, and I think you're better off running armor in my mind. Magic pin would be a riskier, more rewarding option though. And then I recently changed this to ability power per level, so that I can scale up throughout the game. Even if I'm having a kind of poor game and not getting as much gold, I can still be a sufficient force to reckon with late game because I'm getting this little bit of extra help from my ability power. So that's what my rune page looks like, AP support. You can always look up my name and see what runes I run. Masteries. As far as masteries go, I think I'm going to double check that these are set up right. Yeah, these are set up right. Okay, so over here I run 9-0-21, as you can see. I run 5% cooldown reduction, I get mental force maxed out, arcane mastery, just a nice little boost, and then expose weakness. The other things work fine. Well, these are really pointless. You never want to do that. Attack speed makes no sense, so there's no point. You could get attack damage, but that would be pretty pointless too. Double-edged sword, you deal a little bit of extra damage, but I think damaging an enemy with a spell increases allied champion's damage to that enemy by 1% for the next 3 seconds. I think that is far superior to double-edged sword, because this means that your whole team will be dealing more damage to them just if you hit them with anything, which happens quite often. Alright. Then over here I like to go down all the way to biscuits here because a little bit of extra mana really helps in the laning phase. It's not much, but it's a little bit, and I think it's worth it to get that point in it. And definitely you want to increase your durations of potions. Elixirs doesn't matter, but potions are definitely good. 3 mana regen per 5 seconds, necessary beyond all belief. Lux does run out of mana fairly quickly if you don't manage it properly. I'd say you don't need to do this one just because you don't end up with that much mana. Sorry, I have to respond to someone. Be there in like 4 minutes. That cool. Lux guide. As a thanks, man. Smiley face. Always add a smiley face. Lightens the whole situation. Alright, so next. I get 1 point into this just because I think it's more viable than getting 1 point in any of these things. There's no... These just don't help. This is another viable option, but I just like the little tiny bit of extra move speed. I think it does help. It's just like 3.5 or something, but I don't think that's bad. Well, actually even less than that. You know, you could go either way. I'm going to stick with this for now, but you could go either way. Cooldown reduction of summoner spells. This is a must on anyone. If you're going down this tree to anywhere 9 points, always get 3 points of this. It's the best. It's one of the best parts about this tree up to this point. Make sure to get all your gold 1.5 gold every 10 seconds. Yeah, that adds on, so altogether I'm getting close to 4 gold every 10 seconds bonus. And 1 gold each time an ally kills a nearby lane minion. Very good. Also, extra starting gold, necessary as a support to get the items I use. Melee, 15 gold on champion killer assist. Ranged grants 3 gold each time an enemy champion is attacked. This cannot trigger on the same champion more than once every 5 seconds. They should really buff the melee on this because the range is way better. But so, get that. 3 ranks of intelligence, 5% cooldown reduction just really helps because altogether that puts you at 10% cooldown reduction, which is great. It's really nice to have that extra cooldown reduction. And then 5% movement speed out of combat. If you're a support, you want to be able to get back to lane and you want to be able to place wards around the map and you want to be able to do it quickly and get back to your lane so that you don't miss out on all the XP. I don't know what that Razor Synopsis thing is up there. I've never seen that before. You can't see it. It's not on that screen. Okay, next. So that's... Alright, I think you got a pretty good overview of this. You can always come back and review this video, of course, if you need any of this information. Item sets. Starting items. Spell Thief's Edge, 2 health pots, Stealth Ward, and Warding Totem. I'm sorry, I should really check this to see what they say. Actually, I'm going to eat. Give me 10-ish. Alright, cool. Alright. Awesome. Okay, so, sorry, back to the guide. Okay, so, browse items just to get that out of the way. Okay, so we have starting items. Spell Thief's Edge. You're an AP support. This is just, it's a no-brainer. I mean, hey dude, thanks for tuning in. I'm doing a little guide on Lux right now. I had a viewer ask for it, so I'm providing that for them. How are you doing tonight? I'll get back to talking to you after a guide for a while. It's just going to be me talking about Lux and how to build her and that sort of stuff. Okay, so next we have a Spell Thief's Edge. So that's your first item. Spells and basic attacks against champions or buildings deal 10 additional damage and grant 5 gold. This can occur up to 3 times every 30 seconds. Killing a minion disables this passive for 12 seconds. That's pretty dang good, right? I mean, yeah. So, I think that's personally the best choice for a support item. You could just go, I guess, Adorned like ring, but I don't think that's a good choice. 2 health pots. You could also go with 2 wards if you really don't think you're going to get harassed. But if you feel like you're going to be harassed, definitely get the health pots, and I'd suggest getting the health pots anyway because it's always a good idea to have a couple of health pots on hand. Warding Totem. Okay. This is the item you're going to stick with through the entire game unless your specific situation means you should get a sweeper. I think the Warding Totem is better as a support personally now. I think junglers can get a sweeper, or maybe even, I don't know, mid could get a sweeper even, honestly. But I think the support should get a Warding Totem. I think it's just what you should stick with through the entire game at this point in the meta. Okay, mid game. And the vision, it kind of goes in this mid game. So mid game, I'll add that to there. So Frost Queen's Claim. This is just a fully upgraded Spell Thief's Edge. It's just better in every way, and the cooldown reduction is really the main reason I upgraded all the way. Plus, it just gives a nice bonus. It gives a nice amount of gold back, and by the end of the game, you've made all your gold back, and you can sell it to buy something better without losing the power during the game. Alright, so depending on how the game's going, you probably want to either get Sightstone. Well, let's do this. So you might get this first, and then possibly get your Sightstone, and then upgrade to Frost Queen's Claim. Or what I tend to do is I tend to just go Frost Queen's Claim first, and then get Sightstone, but that really depends on how ganks are going. And then a Magi Soul Stealer, I just think you're a support, you're in the back line, you're not exactly going to be hit all the time, so you might as well build this AP item that will keep stacking up with you throughout the game. If you're kind of new to Lux, I guess you might want to go something else because you have to learn positioning and you don't want to be caught out all the time. So I'm very comfortable with the champion, so I can go Magi Soul Stealer and rely on not dying too much. Now granted, sometimes that doesn't work out. I end up with like 2 stacks, but then I know I'm gonna gift there, so I just wait for it to gain back. I don't like sell it or anything, because that would be a really bad choice if you've already bought it. Unless you have enough to get a substantial item, it's a really bad choice to sell it after you've bought it, in my mind. So there's my thoughts on that item. Morellonomicon. As support Lux, I think you want to be throwing, well, as Lux in general, I think you want to be throwing out spells all the time. You want to hit 40 cooldown reduction and just be constantly spamming spells, pretty much. Well, actually not constantly, but whenever you get the chance to. In a team fight, cooldown reduction helps Lux especially so much. I feel like she has fairly long cooldowns normally. Besides her ultimate is very low. But, so if you get cooldown reduction, you can fire in the span of a team fight that, say, let's say a team fight lasts a minute. You fire ultimate at the beginning of it. Throughout that team fight, you can fire 2 ultimates and also get off. Team fight still doesn't last a minute. Let's say 30 seconds. If you fire your ultimate at the beginning, you can pretty much fire it again at the end of a team fight, which just lets you get off far more damage, along with being able to get off 5 or 6 of each spell throughout that team fight. 5 or 6, is that right? Yeah. Okay, 4 to 5 of each spell throughout that team fight, more realistically. So that's why to go with that. And as far as sorcerer shoes, I would get cooldown reduction boots, but I already have max cooldown reduction between this item, well, this item, between these 2 items and my masteries and runes. Actually, just my masteries and my runes don't have cooldown reduction. Sorry about that. I already have max cooldown reduction, so I might as well get the extra magic penetration, because the cooldown reduction isn't going to help me at all. Okay, so that's my mid-game build. Items, more vision. So, wards, your support. You still have to buy wards. You, depending on how the game's going, and maybe your jungler bought a sightstone, you might not need to give a sightstone, but if you don't, you definitely want to upgrade to this as quick as you can. I'm going to just leave it here for a few seconds so that if you want to go back and read through it again, you can. The pink ward is good, but I would recommend this unless you grab the sightstone, just because you want to have a lot of wards on the map, as many as you can. I would recommend a sightstone and the pink ward personally. That's what I'd say. Okay, in-game build. No sightstone. This is what it looks like. You end up selling Frost Queen's Claim for one of these items. Now, granted, you're supposed to be doing just amazing at this point, so you should still have max CDR because of Magi's Soul Stealer. So you still have that spam ability and everything, and now you have, with this build, you get probably 900 plus AP. These 2 builds, probably not quite 900 AP, maybe 850, maybe only 800. That's still quite a large amount of ability power. But this one, if they build a lot of MR, excuse me, obviously you want a Void Staff, it's better in that case. If they're diving you a lot, or they don't have any MR at all, Azonia's Hourglass is by far of a superior choice. It gives you more AP, it gives you some armor, it just doesn't give you the magic penetration that this does. Magic damage ignores 35% of the time. So yes, I think these are all the best in-game builds. So far in games, I've ended up going with these 2 because my opponents haven't been building a lot of MR, which is interesting. But that is essentially how you build. I'm going to play a game with some friends now as Lux, and I'll show you somewhat. You can keep in mind the skills I'm leveling up throughout the game, and I'll try to refresh on them, but I'm playing with friends, I might get a little caught up. Alright. Anyway, I think that is the end of this guide. I'm going to upload this guide to YouTube, as well as upload this guide with the gameplay attached at the end of it to YouTube, so that you can get the whole idea in general. But yeah, if you just want the guide, this will be the video that you want to watch. Thank you very much, and enjoy.